Welcome back everyone to Racing Reviews and welcome to Formula 1 2023. It's been a long time coming. It's been a whole season, and since we last spoke on Racing Reviews, it's been a long time, but Formula 1 is back. Racing Reviews is back for the 2023 season, and as you can see, it looks a little bit different. Yes, I've been gone, but I am now back, and of course, to start things off in this brand new style, it's going to take some getting used to for you and for me. Let's talk about some Formula 1 predictions. We are right on the doorstep of the new season. So it starts tomorrow, FP1 in Bahrain. It seems like only yesterday it was Abu Dhabi. It seems like it was only a week ago since that 2021 season, and I last spoke to you with Formula 1. But 2023, I've got some mixed feelings. Last year was okay. It wasn't the all-singing, all-dancing season that we were hoping for. It wasn't that big crescendo that we had in 2021. It was a good year. The racing was a lot closer. And I think 2023 will definitely be an evolution of 2022. A 2022 Part 2, if you will. And to start things off, it's a no-brainer. Everyone is talking about it at the moment, and that's Red Bull. Max Verstappen, 2 times world champion, your reigning world champion. And I'm not seeing anyone with a bit of that punch that can really look like at the moment they're going to take that fight to Verstappen. And so my world champion for 2023 undoubtedly is Max, and Red Bull Constructors Champion. I'd love to see Checo in the hunt. I think there's a driver there who's lacking a little bit of consistency, which is something we're not used to saying with Sergio Perez. But that car is so suited to Max Verstappen. It's so on the nose, so delicate, that Checo, even after 2 years in the car, still isn't quite on top of how much of a handful that Red Bull car is. And so I don't see him overtaking Verstappen in the Constructors. I don't think anyone is on the level of Max right now. And that car just looks like an absolute boss. Consistency is king. Max has got it. Even Red Bull, that started last year with a few reliability issues, they got on top of those. There were no issues, or very little issues, in the second half of the season. Adrian Newey has built a demon of the car by the looks of it in testing. Red Bull should be fine. Hunting them though, I think that's going to change up. Mercedes were comfortably off Ferrari last year, and though they've had issues in testing so far, I think both teams will be slightly closer to Red Bull, or certainly closer than they were in Abu Dhabi at the end of the season. Mercedes, of course, did pick up that victory in Brazil, didn't they? And Ferrari managed to get 4 over the season. I still think the numbers will be similar. I think Ferrari, on tracks that suit their car a little bit more than the Red Bull, will be strong. Charles, a year under his belt fighting at the front, so he managed to do that in 2019 in his first year at Ferrari. Now he's had another year where expectations were a lot higher. Pressure's going to be off him a little bit this year, so I think that's going to help him move forward. Fred Vasseur coming in as the new team principal, that's going to help Ferrari. And Mercedes, last year was difficult for them. No doubt, it was a big shock to the system. George Russell was awesome last year. Lewis Hamilton, it took him some time to get back to that normal Lewis that we're used to, but he got there in the end. So, an evolution of that car from last year. They're still sticking to the no side pod Mercedes. That is brave. Will it pay off? I think that's going to be the biggest question mark. And Toto Wolff has very clearly said, if we get to the halfway point and it's still not working, we will abandon this concept. So that in itself is quite worrying. But Mercedes have got history. They know how to build a Formula 1 car. They know how to run a Formula 1 team. So operationally, they should be good. It's just whether that car is able to propel them in front of Ferrari, which they were doing in the latter stages of last year, and closer to Red Bull. And I'm not seeing consistent wins for Mercedes this year, but I'm also not seeing that 8th World Championship for Lewis Hamilton. Behind them, though, and maybe even in the mix with them, it's a little bit harder to tell, because over the winter testing period, Aston Martin looked good. Fernando Alonso looked really, really good. He could be a surprise early doors. It's just whether they have that reliability. And last year, it was a bit all over the place for Aston's strategy. Was great on Lance Stroll's side of the garage. Is that to do with the fact his family owns the team? Is it just how the cookie crumbled last season? I think we're going to see a little bit more clearer this year. Sebastian Vettel last season put in some awesome performances. But even when he put some great performances in, strategy didn't always go his way. Fernando Alonso is going to call that out. No doubt he is going to call that out. So I'm excited to see what that car and that dynamic works at this year. But Aston do look quick. And on their day, could be fighting for podiums. Alpine, McLaren, I feel like are next. And though McLaren, lots of people have been pointing out in testing that they had a lot of issues with their tyres, reliability wasn't brilliant. Operationally, like I said with Mercedes, this is a team that knows how to go racing. Yes, they've got the history, but they've also got the personnel. Lando Norris is fantastic. Oscar Piastri, the rookie Formula 2 champion in 2021, he has got the toolkit to be a very quick driver. The question mark for me, yes, the car at the moment doesn't look great. I think they'll be fine long term. And if you look at last year when we started the season with Alfa Romeo looking really hot, by the end of it, not so much. This year, I think McLaren will struggle at the start of the season, but they did last season. They were awful in Bahrain, and then a few races later in Imola, Lando Norris picked up a podium. So I see McLaren being able to turn it around. The question mark for me is Andrea Stella, someone who has had plenty of experience as an engineer, but a team principal is a whole different ballgame. Whole different ballgame. He is going from just strategy and making sure that his engineering brain is on all of the time, now into the world of personnel, into the world of managing drivers, managing staff, not only at the racetrack, but back at the factory, hiring, firing people. It's really interesting side to Formula One is a team principal, and all of the changes this year, I think, will have a bigger effect than people realise, and I think that could be McLaren's downfall. Stella has definitely got the experience in Formula One, but it's just whether he's suited to that team principal position. But then you could argue maybe Zach Brown is going to have more of a presence on the track this year. So that's one I'm interested in seeing how it evolves, but I see McLaren fighting with Alpine, both of them behind Aston Martin. And a quick note on Alpine, they're always so difficult to tell, aren't they? That Renault engine is never quite reliable. It's always got glimpses, hasn't it, of being a quick engine, but never quite the best engine. Gasly and Ocon, it's going to be a fiery relationship. Ocon, a consistent driver. Gasly, a consistent driver. And I think that dynamic, though it's built up to be a really punchy one between the two of them, I think it'll be okay. I think they'll be quick. I think there will be arguments, but I think it will be fine. I don't think it will reach those kind of fiery tempers that we saw at the end of Alonso and Ocon's time, but also Ocon and Perez. I don't think it will be like that. And I just think the car will be okay. And then at the back of the grid, I feel like we've got the remainder of our teams. Haas, I feel confident about the start of the season. I love the signing of Nico Hülkenberg. People that have been on the channel for a long, long time will know I was really disappointed when he was let go. Felt he deserved another chance. Definitely felt like he was one of the best drivers in 2018. That was a boss of a season for Nico. And his Hulkenberg's performances, that third place on the grid in Silverstone 2020, I want to say for Racing Point, that was fantastic. A couple of stand-ins for Aston Martin last year too at the start of the season. He's a solid driver. And I think over the course of the year, will consistently score points, lower end of the points, or consistently be on the realms, on the cusp of points over the course of the year. Whereas K-Mag, I think, will score big, but not very often. So that's going to be a fun dynamic. Those two, I think, will be perfectly fine. They're going to get along with each other. And Haas, so far, seem to have built a solid car. Not a super quick car, not a slow car, but a solid car. Very much middle of the range. So I've got a good feeling about my boys this season. AlphaTauri, Williams, Alfa Romeo, I think are going to be your back three. Alfa Romeo are a really difficult outfit to analyse. My surprise of the season, though, and I think someone who we should keep an eye out for, is Guan Yu Zhou. I loved seeing him racing last year. I mentioned it right at the start of the season when I did my only video of the year. I think he's not a bad little driver. And in those first races last year when the car was quick, he had terrible reliability, terrible luck. And just around about the Canada stage of the season, when he started to get used to the car and ready to take the challenge to the other drivers around him and started to beat Valtteri more consistently, the car wasn't as good. So I think this year, my hot take is that Guan Yu Zhou in that midfield will be a driver that outscores Valtteri Bottas and actually outperforms the car. It's a rogue shout, I understand that, but just looking at where he finished at the end of the season relative to Bottas, who I still feel is a solid Formula 1 driver, he is a multiple race winner, I think Guan Yu could have a good year this season. I think the surprise will be that he stays on for 2024. AlphaTauri, Nick De Vries and Yuki Tsunoda, it's not an outfit that's given me a lot of excitement going into this year, and Yuki's got a big season with his third year behind the wheel of a Formula 1 car. Nick De Vries has got a big season because it's his very first. It's his rookie season. It's a long time coming. He's not young. He is 28 years old, one of the older drivers on the grid. So he's got to adapt quickly. He's got to really gel with that car. And if he wants to have a long-term future in Formula 1, he's got to be beating Yuki right away. And I'm not too sure that's going to happen. He did great in Monza for Williams last year, but I'm not feeling like he's going to be able to beat Yuki consistently enough to stay for 2024. And Williams, the final team on the grid, I'm confident they will be near the back, but I think they will score points. A very similar year to last year, I think, where if they get everything right, strategy right, if they stay out of trouble. I think Logan Sargent, though he's a rookie and though he had some fruity and spicy races in Formula 2 last year, I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be fine. I think he's a good driver. People will point out he is American, and that's going to be a big draw for American fans and American investors more so for the Williams team. But I think actually his driving, he is quick. And in his rookie season of Formula 3, he almost won the title. I think that is often forgotten. Went down to the final race with Oscar Piastri. And in his rookie season of Formula 2, at one stage looked like he might be fighting for the title, but it did crumble over the last few rounds. So Williams, I see finishing last in the Constructors, but it's not going to be one of those years where it's all doom and gloom, so far at the back like Kubica and Russell were. But I think it's going to be a difficult year for Williams. 13 minutes. I'll take it. I'll take it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I know it's been a long time since we've done anything like this on the channel. It's lovely to see your faces. I know this is different. This is how it's going to be moving forward. But feedback would be very much appreciated. As you can see, this is all new to me. Lighting is a mess. So it would be really appreciated, any feedback at all, but it is lovely to see all of your faces. It's great to be back on YouTube. It's great to be talking about Formula 1 again, and fingers crossed we have a belter of a season. Fingers crossed Max Verstappen doesn't run away with it. We have a three-way fight. Fingers crossed we have a lovely and spicy season. Leave your comments in the comments below. Any feedback, any predictions, any bold ones. You know I love a bold prediction. And Guan Yu Zhou, let's go for it. A Guan Yu Zhou Las Vegas podium is the bold prediction I will leave you on. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Let me know if you made it this far to this video. You are all wonderful. I'll leave it there. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy, hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe. It's 2023. We made it. Thank you guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.